Hey, Retro Roadmappers. Mod Betty signing on a few mins early because, I don't know, I'm kind of excited to do this. It feels like a trillion years. How are you all? You know what? I am cracking up because I'm looking at my hair. I realize I talk about my hair in almost every episode because here's the deal. I think as we all know, I have not been able to go. None of us have been able to get our hair did since lockdown. And so I came back in March. I came back from Florida. I was on a Friday and I was supposed to get my hair cut on a Monday. And then I realized I was self-quarantining and stuff. So I was already due for a haircut. And now it just is cracking me up. I will say this is not Retro Roadmap related, but kudos to my my hair guy, Phil Poole. Phil, you do a damn good job because this is like 5 weeks out and it's still, I can manage to get it. Also, I just realized it was raining earlier and now the sun is out, which I love. But anyhow, Craig Nye, nice to see you. I too have my Retro Roadmap Book of Delaware out. Good afternoon, Mary Beth. Nice to see you. Donna, thank you so much for not only tuning in, but Donna Fisher-Wilhelm, who's in the comments here and has been quite often. Donna sent me a wicked nice postcard that was so cool. It was so well timed, and thank you so much for spreading the love. So Donna, I just want to let you know I got your postcard, and I totally appreciate the good vibes you're sending because I'm trying to send out the good vibes. Speaking of good vibes, I see Lola has checked in. We're sending good vibes your way, my dear. I hope this COVID is in your past. Jeffrey, nice to see you. Good afternoon. Dawn, nice to see you guys as well. Jody, nice to see you chiming in from Massachusetts. And Paul, oh my God, oh, so many friendly faces. This is so cool. Mike Fisher, nice to see you too. Mod Betty, feeling a bit like the woman on Romper Room because I could see all these cool names and faces. Suzanne McGillicuddy. God, I want to call you Suzanne Sullivan. Brian, hey, nice to see you. Now that I know you're a kindred spirit up in Massachusetts, that is awesome. So thank you everybody for showing up. I am showing up every week as I promised. Paul, I swear someday we're going to go to Hidden Harbor and get some tiki drinks together in Pittsburgh. It's got to happen. But today we're going to talk about Delaware. And the reason we're talking about Delaware Retro Roadmap wise is because I decided when we first got kind of locked down that I wanted to make sure not only I connected with people, but also that I allowed people in the comments to get to know each other's names and faces and things because it's a weird time for everybody. Thank goodness we have the internet. Can you imagine if we were like writing letters to each other? We would feel pretty disconnected. So my desire is to connect everybody. And what I thought I would do is pick a state, each state for an episode here. And so we're working our way back down from Maine and now we're in Delaware. I do, my hearts go out to the people in New York who actually are dealing also with, I guess, a tornado warning. Suzanne, I saw that. That is crazy. Laura Stevens, Janet Brady, Burbank. Oh my gosh, so nice to see you. It has been a wicked long time, hasn't it? Michael G, I just saw this really quickly. This is not live on YouTube. It's only live here on Facebook. And here's the dealio with that, okay? Thank you, Cliff, for chiming in. But let me explain to people because maybe this will you know, instigate a change. The reason why I'm not doing live on on one of those on the YouTubes is because I don't have 1,000 followers yet on YouTube, so they don't think I'm worthy of doing a YouTube live. But I would love to do this on YouTube live. So if you haven't subscribed to the Retro Roadmap YouTube channel, please go over there. Literally, just hit subscribe. It's so easy. That's all you need to do. That will help me get more followers on there. And then I can do these on Facebook. I can also do them at different times of the day and maybe even a different day of the week. So if you know people who you think would be interested in chiming in, I know, Suzanne, you mentioned the fact that you weren't able to chime in usually because I'm doing this thing in the afternoon. My Betty's flexible. I'm more than happy to go where the people are. You just need to tell me what works for you, and also your friends. If you think if you have people that you think want to tune in but can't make it, let them know. You know, we'll do a little convo. Actually, let me do a little behind the scenes thing. Hey, Retro Road husband. Hello, Charlie Brown.
I'm listening to your delayed version.
Okay, sorry. I forgot my clock. Could you bring me my clock? Because I can't see what time it is. I'm always trying to be mindful of the time we spend together, and I want to. Oh, I'm worthy! Yay! Oh, Judson, that's awesome. You know people from Dewey. That's great. I'm going to talk about the beach. Yeah, there's my clock. Actually, so here's the deal. This is my clock to make sure. This is actually the clock from our bathroom. I want to get one that's blue. I saw one of these when we were in Palm Springs. I came this close to buying another one of these with a nice aqua on it, but maybe that'll be a splurge. But this is to make sure that I am keeping a literal eye on the time, like my eye is on the time when we talk about Delaware. So enough of me gibba-gabbing here. So we're going to be talking about cool vintage places in the state of Delaware. Now, the state of Delaware is one that I'm excited to share with you for a couple of reasons. I also realized I put my camera up a little high here. I'm going to work on my posture. And here's the deal with my Retro Roadmap Book of Delaware. So I started my Retro Road books with Delaware. And the reason I did that was a couple of reasons. One was because it was the first state I really retro road mapped in very, well, I mean, besides New England and Massachusetts, but when I decided to do retro road map, we lived just over the border in PA. We still do, but I had just come. Cliff and I, hey Jeff, Cliff and I had just come from living in Delaware. Retro Road husband Cliff Hillis is a Delaware boy. He and I got married in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and we lived there for a number of years before we moved to PA, and Delaware really has a soft spot in my heart. The other reason I started my retro road mapping in Delaware was because we lived, let me see if there's a map. There should be a map in this book. I don't think it's to scale or anything, but just so you have an idea of what the state looks like, because I'll be honest with you, when I first met Cliff and he said he was from Delaware, I didn't really know where Delaware was on the map because I'm from New England and we spent 2 years on the, the Revolutionary War and nothing on where the states are. Okay, here we go. So Delaware. So this is Delaware right here. To me, this always looks like the head of a guitar. But in any case, it's got 3 counties. And this is the one that probably most people have gone through because this is Newcastle County. This is where Route 95 kind of cuts through when you want to go to other places from the East Coast down the coast. But Cliff grew up here in Sussex County in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, way down here at the beach. I love the beach, so when I found out Cliff was from the beach, it made him even more appealing to me. But we used to have to drive. Anytime he would have gigs, we would have to drive all the way up through Delaware to get to New York or Philly or any place where he had gigs. So we did a lot of inadvertent retro road tripping every time we'd go to a gig. And I used to love finding these cool vintage places on our ways to and from gigs and just exploring, as I like to say. But then this was a state where I really got the idea that places were closing down and not opening, and then there were fewer places to choose from to go to. So Delaware was close to my heart, close to me geographically, and frankly also for those of you who want to, yes, lower, slower Delaware, the old LSD. It's so true. And for those of you who kind of follow me when I'm giving little tips on how to get stuff done in your life, because I kind of have a side project called Just Drive Your Life, where I encourage people to do the things that they want to do because we only have one life, and just freaking do it, people, because that's what I needed. I needed some encouragement, and I encouraged myself, and I got it from others, so I just want to give it to you. The reason I bring all that up is because Delaware is a small state. I think it's the second smallest outside of Rhode Island, and so this first book is tiny. I mean, this is wicked thin. I think there's about 30 places in there. So I wanted to make sure that before any more small mom and pops closed, that I got them in a book. I got people to go to them, but then also because I had never done a Retro Road book before, it was nice to start small. You know, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wanted to do something, and this seemed like a manageable quantity. So anyhow, let's talk about the Retro Roadmap worthy places in Delaware, shall we? As I did with my other books from New Jersey and the Philly area, I am referring to my book for my notes because I wrote the book. I figured I would just pop open some of these pages and tell you some things. A couple of things. First off, if anybody is interested in one of the Delaware books, this was my first book, came out in 2017, and it's already sold out. I did a limited run, and where's that freaking page I'm looking for? Pardon me. Oh no, actually no. Okay, here's the deal. This is why I couldn't find it. This is my like keeper copy. That's why I have it written on. I do technically have one copy left. This is it, of the Delaware book. So if you want that, email me after this, maudbetty@retroroadmap.com. I'll tell you how much it is and I'll mail it to you. This is the last one. The reason I couldn't find the page that I had marked up is because this is the one that I mark up, see? And when you get your own book, please do mark it up because that's what it's for, right? So I was taking some notes on places in Delaware, and I've got some good news and bad news. So I'll start with the bad news in that there are a few places in the book that since it has been published 3 years ago, a couple of places have closed. Now, that's to be expected, sadly, with cool old vintage places, but I want you to use that as a motivator to get yourself out to the places that you love before you, while every place is open. Really quick question I see in the comments. Did you self-publish in short runs? Yes, I did. I'd be more than happy, actually, we may have some time after I get through some of these places. I'd be more than happy to talk about my self-publishing process. So if you're interested in that, I'll share. I got nothing to hide. Well, I have some things to hide, but that's not one of them. So there have been a few places that closed. Actually, here was a takeaway. One of these places closed in between the time I submitted my files to the printer and I got my books back. So life changes in a hot instant, people. So to go out for the interesting things. But the other thing that I want to say that's a good news thing, like see, I'm always freaking, okay. See how I've got things like crossed off and checked? A couple of things here. One is that, check this out. So a number of places, there aren't a lot of Retro Roadmap worthy places in Delaware, but I was so heartened today when I was doing my refresher of are places open, are they closed, what's going on. So many people during this time of COVID craziness and lockdown are sending good vibes to the local places they love. I saw this in the comments on people's Facebook pages, different businesses. I love that. I love how people are taking this horrible situation and allowing it to remind them of what's important to them and to us, which are these really interesting shops that once they're gone, they are like never replaced with something better. So I love seeing people champion their local mom and pops and, Retro Roadmap worthy places. So I encourage you, please use this time, to remind yourself of what's important. And maybe it's that little mom and pop that you remember going to get your Easter candy to. Maybe it's the place that once a year when you go down the beach that you love to go get your fries at, or your special favorite place where you get your slice of pizza. So maybe you can help them out now. Maybe you can buy a gift certificate, or you can order something online. Or maybe you can just remember that when they're reopening, you're going to spend all your pizza money at your favorite pizza place down the beach. So remember, we're in kind of a pause time right now, but this time is time to reset what's important, and then hit the ground running when you go to these places. The other thing, which is a bit more of a goofy thing I'm going to share, is that when I was going through here, so self-publishing, right? And I say just start and do it. No, nothing's ever going to be perfect. I just discovered after selling hundreds of copies of this book that on this page that's the list. I make a checklist of all the places so you can keep track of where you're going, so you go to them all, right? Yeah, I forgot. There's a place in the book, but I forgot to put it on this list page. But you know what? That's what happens. Not everything's perfect, but you do your best and you go on, and you hopefully proofread better. So enough of me yakking. Let's start alphabetically at Angelo's Luncheonette. Angelo's Luncheonette is in Wilmington, and this place is so adorable. It's tucked away in this little neighborhood. I think it's called 40 Acres, and it has been family owned and operated for at least since the late 50s. And it is a tiny corner store luncheonette that you go into. They've got counter seating, which I love, because counter seats mean that you can go there as a solo person and there's going to be a space for you. It's not just, a table with an empty chair across from it. So they've got a counter you can sit down, and they've got booths, and they're open for breakfast and lunch. Not open now during COVID. Pretty much every place I'm telling you about today is not open at all right now in the physical world, but it's not like they've closed permanently. Angelo's Luncheonette is such a great place, and it's really neat because you can go in there as somebody who's just pulled off of 95 to grab yourself like a home-cooked kind of diner-type breakfast, and you will feel such a community vibe there. You'll hear banter between the people at the counter and the people behind the grill. It's got the grill right behind the counter, kind of like old diners did. So Angelo's, wicked soft spot in the Wilmington area. What else do we have here? Charcoal Pit. So the Charcoal Pit is also someplace you can get off of very easily. It's on 202 off of 95 in Wilmington. And it is one of the last vestiges on the entirety of Route 202 north to south that has that kind of old school feel. I don't know. Yeah, you can kind of see black and white photos. I apologize. It's got this great neon sign right there. It's got this wonderful other neon sign, bunch of neon signs. And then this is the takeout place that kind of looks like a circus tent. And yes, and the Charcoal Pit, the pit is it. Their burgers are so good. We went here for a celebratory burger after we closed on our house here in Phoenixville because we didn't know where else to go, and we thought it would be the perfect place. Such a delicious place, and they are actually doing kind of curbside takeout only, so they are open during this time. So as I said, it's very exciting to see how places are dealing with things. I'm not going to hit every page, so I guess technically I could. Yeah, go to the Charcoal Pit. If you've always wanted to go, it's so easy to make that, to change that. You just go. When they're open, just go for a burger. Don't, make a hang up of like, I haven't been there forever. Just go. I do that all the time. I drive past places. I haven't gone there. Yeah, just go. Little, what do I want to call it? Little reality check here. So the Chesdale restaurant, this was an awesome place. And I say is because it has closed since the time this book was open. The reason this was, it was a vintage diner. I want to say a Mountain View, perfectly preserved inside. The waitresses wore uniforms with their little name tags on it. They served old school food. Like I think swear they had like succotash, lima beans, whatnot. The Chesdale ended up closing because they rerouted the streets around there. You could not easily get to them as you used to be able to off of Route 1 heading north and south, or even when the quicker route came on. They came and did a bunch of detours, and it really literally siphoned off any way, even me. It was so hard to figure out how to get to them once they closed off the roads and everything that it just made their business dry up. That's what happened to Route 66. When the highway came through, it bypassed a lot of these cool old places. And if you've ever seen the movie Cars, the cartoon, the Disney cartoon Cars in Radiator Springs, this doesn't happen in the movies, and it doesn't just happen on Route 66. It happens a lot of places. So make the effort to get to these places because sometimes they close, they don't want to. So that's a little bit of reality check. Yeah, chicken and dumplings, right, Josie? Oh my gosh, I know. And the chicken and dumplings are like that old school, like Delmarva dumpling, the kind of flat, like a slippery noodle type one that I love. Happier news, happier news. The Dairy Palace, or as I like to call it, the Dairy Palais, when I'm feeling sassy. I love the Dairy Palace. This is in Newcastle. And the cool thing about this, again, not open right now, but not just closed. They're just in limbo, like every other business. I love the fact that they are this cool, cheery, you can't see it in the black and white, but cheery, colorful place on the side of the road where you can get soft serve and hard scoop ice cream. They've got this great vintage neon sign that they love up. It's family owned and operated. This place, people, just put on the National Register of Historic Places. So Delaware, I love the fact that while you don't have many cool vintage places left, that with that authentic kind of vintage charm, that you went and were able to get the Dairy Palace put on the National Register. Because to me, these are the kinds of places that I want to see representing our country, you know, for part of our history. It's part of our history. You know, sometimes people think these places are too new, but they're places where everybody goes. Anybody can pull up here and get a soft serve ice cream. So that's the Dairy Palace, family owned and operated in Newcastle. Love it. So glad it's there. There are a number of old theaters in Delaware. I want to say 5 or 6, which is great. There's the Everett Theater. There is the, the fancy one, the one that's in the Grand Opera House in downtown Wilmington. And there's one, the Milton Theater in Sussex. There's the Schwartz Center, which is in Dover. So there's a number of those that used to be, they all started out as kind of old-timey places that maybe had live music or live performances and then had movies. Now most of them are just live performances. So there's the Everett Theater that's in, I think it's in Middletown. Pardon me, lost my space. Middletown. Neat thing about this, hey, neighbors are meeting each other. I love this. I love this, people. So cool thing about Everett Theater is, anybody ever see that movie? What was that? My Captain. Oh crap. Robin Williams, Dead Poets Society. Dead Poets Society was filmed. There's scenes here, and it was filmed around this area. So if you're one of those people who's like, ooh, I want to go see places that used to be in movies, go to Middletown, Delaware, and go to the Everett Theater. Now, this is a place I'm excited to share with you, especially in this time of uncertain, like where we're shopping and everything, is the Fairfax Hardware in Wilmington, Delaware. This is in a strip mall. I never would have expected to find a cool vintage place in a strip plaza, actually, but it's perfectly preserved, wood paneling, old school. People wear, the clerks wear ties when you go in there, and they ask you, ma'am, do you need help finding anything? And instead of being bummed out that they call you a ma'am, you're all excited because they're so polite. But Fairfax Hardware. So if you are in Delaware and you need to get stuff during this time, like to help with your house, don't go to the big box stores. Go to the little guy. Like this little guy right here. You know, go to a place where you look and you're like, excuse me, do you have some sundries? Sundries, right? And then you're like, of course we have sundries. We've got a whole section of sundries. I don't even know what sundries are, but I just love the name. So anyhow, Fairfax Hardware is a place to go. Fiero Cheese. I just heard from somebody from Instagram who said that her boyfriend's family owns this company, and he was all excited that I put them in here. Totally drove past this for years. It's in Wilmington, kind of in the just off the Italian section. They make homemade cheeses here. Mozzarella and whatnot. And the neat thing is it's more like when you go here, it's really one of those factory stores where you go and there's like a counter in front of the factory. They are still making cheese, and they will bring it to your car. If you call up and say, hey, I need some pot cheese. I think they have an interesting pot. They've got, I think, basket cheese. That's it. Basket cheese for Easter. And they call a 5-pound loaf of mozzarella a city long. I mean, isn't that cool? What's a city long? I don't know. It's a 5-pound loaf of cheese, but you can get it at Fiero Cheese. Now, Gavado's. So the deal is with Gavado's. It's a chocolate place in downtown Wilmington. It used to have a restaurant and made chocolate. They've been around for over 100 years, and they do have an outlet on Route 202. However, they have now closed the restaurant. They're now focusing on candies. And you were still able to get candies during Easter, so I think they're still open. So they're kind of going strong. So that's another kind of classic. As I mentioned, the Grand Opera House is a very fancy place in downtown Wilmington. Great place to go to. Here's a neat thing, too. Random thing. I saw Wilco here once. Awesome show. Other thing is, too, this exterior right here is like a cast iron. It's a cast iron building structure outside. You don't see a lot of old school places like that anymore made out of cast iron, but we've got one in Delaware. The Hearth. The Hearth, I believe, is still open on the weekends now for Easter. For weekends for takeout only. And I've loved the Hearth because I fell in love with this sign. It's kind of fallen on hard times, but it is one of those places, again, where the highway came through. They used to be right on the main drag down to the beach. The highway came through and bypassed them. And I am such a champion of the little guys that I'm like, damn you, highway. I want to go to the Hearth. So I go there, and owned by Angie the Kazakises. I always pronounce their name wrong. And they make some great Greek food too. Baklava to die for. Herman's Quality Meats. So Herman's is kind of a new place in Retro Roadmap because Herman's was like, it's only from 1968. So it's pretty much a baby. This is in Newark, and it's a great little, very small, again, family owned and operated place that is a butcher. So you can get all sorts of cuts of meats and things. But then also, if you're not like, oh, I'm on the road and I want a side of beef, you can go there and get a box lunch. And during this time, I noticed that they are not only still providing meats to people, like you call them up and you say what you want, and then you can pay for it, and then they'll bring it to you. But they also they put a list of fresh produce and other things that they can augment your order with. So the neat thing about places like this is they're like owned, they're run by real people, and they want to help you out, and you want to help them. So if you have your grocery money to spare, consider supporting some of these small guys so that when everything goes back to being more open, that they will still be able to be open. Place like this, Phoenixvillians, if you know Forestas, this place totally reminds me of Forestas in a lot of ways. Forestas and Phoenixville, total great school place. Hotel DuPont, fancy place to go stay in a hotel when you can stay in hotels, or see something at the Playhouse on Rodney Square, or maybe just get an elegant cocktail like we did. We went and saw 42nd Street and had cocktails there, and I just felt so old school and glam. So that's a fun place. I believe that's also, I don't know if it's on the National Register of Historic Places, but I know it is a, what do you call it? It's a Historic Hotel of America. So, yeah. Yeah, you know what? Actually, Mary Beth, I just noticed you say you've been to the Hotel DuPont for a luncheon and tea. I've not been there for that, but I totally want to do that because I heard that their macaroons, their macaroon cookies are famous. Leo and Jimmy's, this is the place that closed, but between the time that I submitted the files and got the book, it was such a cute place, but I totally get why they closed. National 5 and 10. So National 5 and 10 is in Newark. So Newark pretty much has this one Main Street strip. I believe it's called Main Street. And the University of Delaware is there. So National 5 and 10, family owned and operated. Started out as a 5 and 10. Still is a 5 and 10 on the periphery of it. But it is probably, if you want to get any University of Delaware abilia, National 5 and 10 is the place to go. I did check them on Facebook today, and they are not open, but also because there is all sorts of road construction going on Main Street. But when Main Street is open again, National 5 and 10, I just love them. They're old school, family owned and operated. Pappas Market. Pappas Market, very close to Fierro Cheese in Wilmington. And I was so afeared. I was so feared that when I came here, when I went to check on them, that they were going to be a closed, but they're not a closed, so I'm not afeared because they're open. I cracked myself up. I've been in the house a lot. Anywho, they have changed around the interior a little bit, but it's this old school market. Again, I say family owned and operated, but that means something. It's real people. It's actually, it used to be, and I can't read because I don't have my right glasses on, Pete Papa was a family, he was a father of 12, owned it for years. He passed away. His wife is now taking care of it. And still around. And again, this place is nestled in like a little neighborhood. It's that little kind of place that if it's closed, you're going to be sad. So you got to go and you got to support the little guy. So buy your pasta, buy your sauce here. Buy whatever you need here, and then not only do you get your food, you get that good feeling in your good feeling in your belly, your good feeling in your heart, because you're buying stuff from the right places. Oh, and they had these cute little shopping carts. Totally love that. Where are we? We're still in Newcastle County, Delaware. As I mentioned, for those of you just joining in, I'm going through the Retro Road Book of Delaware. This was my first Retro Roadmap Road book, came out a couple of years ago. Sadly, I have one copy left. Actually good that I have one copy left, where is he? Because that means I sold hundreds of them. And I just want to encourage people to go because I'm coming up here on every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm doing a Facebook Live at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, highlighting cool vintage places from each state in today's Delaware. Pleasant Hill Lanes. We used to live down the street from here, and oh my gosh, if this isn't the most mid-century modern of bowling alleys, I mean, check out, I always screw this up. There we go. Oh, no. See, there's places you can write. Here, let me see if I can stand up. Yeah. Look at that sign, people. Look at that sign. They got these lockers. We have some of these lockers in our garage. Not theirs. It was from another bowling alley. But a really great place to go, big ball bowling. I always wanted to, here's the funny thing. You know how I tell everybody, oh, go do that stuff that you always said you wanted to do? I've not always been like that, people. So in the entirety of the time, the years that we lived right near Pleasant Hill Lanes, I would say, you know what? I want to have a party at that place. I want to have a party at the bowling alley. And it'd be so fun. We can invite our rock and roll friends. We can do some bowling. Maybe a band would play. Where's my talking? I did a lot of talking and not a lot of doing. And guess what? We moved. We didn't have a thing. And then they actually remodeled a little bit on the inside. So this is why I am so insistent on encouraging you all to do the things you say you want to do. Because I spent decades of my life not doing it myself. And let me tell you, the years that I've been doing the things that I say I wanted to do are so much more kick-ass than the years that I didn't do them. Oh, look, we're already through. That was Newcastle County. Here's a funny thing. So in each one of my books, and this is just a bit of a thing so you know it, as you saw, I wrote in my book. When you buy my books, write in them. Use them. They are supposed to be thrown in your car, encouraging you to go out on the road and go on the road. Then there's always going to be a place in there for you to write your own stuff down or your memories. Like, remember that time we went and had chicken and dumplings, you know, at the Chestel, and the waitress's, you know, name was Laverne? That was awesome. Write it in your book, and then this, instead of just being a book that sits pristine on your shelf, it becomes your travel memory thing that you can leaf through and remember the good times you had. Other crazy thing is, I appreciate it, you guys, that you've gone to the Five and Dime. That's so cool. So check this out. This sign right here that I needed because I didn't know what to put on that page. I got it right here. So here's the deal. I actually bought it at a kind of a wacky thrift store in Dover, Delaware. I have no idea where this sign came from, like what business. But if anybody knows, or if anybody is really bored during this, you know, lockdown time and wants to find out what business in Delaware received the 1957 Achievement Award presented by the Delaware Roadside Council, let me know and maybe I'll send this sign to you. Anyhow, more things about Delaware. So what else can I tell you about Delaware while we go to the middle section? Well, actually, there's not a lot of things in the middle section, which is Kent County. Kent County, see right here in the middle? And as you can see, I put a little, this is like a blow up of what Kent County looks like, kind of the map, and this is where the little dots are. Not a lot of places in Kent County, and here's the thing that kind of bums me out, but like, once places are gone, then all of a sudden, like, there will be no, they're not making new old places. Well, they are. Like the new mom and pop shops now, if they ever get to be 40, 50, 60 years old, those are going to be the old school places. I don't know if we're going to have them. But once the oldies are gone, they're gone. Like when I started writing about Delaware retro road map places, it was for the Bystander magazine. This was circa pre-2005-ish. Like the only drive-in movie theater that they had in Delaware was in Kent County. Now it is a field. I will say the seems to be making a comeback, these drive-ins. I just posted this morning about how there's a drive-in movie theater, the only movie theater in the entire country that is showing movies and able to post their box office. If anybody in Delaware wants an opportunity to open up a drive-in, go over to the Diamond Drive-In. Used to be right on, I think it was 13. Anywho, not a lot of places in Kent County, but I'll mention them to you because a couple of them are my faves. So I did mention the Schwartz Center, which is a old school theater that had closed, now open, and they're doing live performances. Again, not this COVID time. But then the two fun places, and they're all like literally within streets of each other, they're all in Dover, is the Johnson Victrola Museum. Now this is probably the gemmiest hidden gem in Delaware, in my opinion, because not a lot of, even people I know who are into Victrolas, you know, those old school gramophones and things that you hand crank, not a lot of people know about this, and this is a wonderful museum. You can go and find out the history of the gramophone. The gentleman, E.R. Johnson, who pretty much, I'm trying to read it, I don't have my reading glasses on, but he kind of invented the whole thing, and there's all sorts of things. Also, if you've ever seen Nipper, oh, I used to have a Nipper dog, and then my real dog, chewed his ears off. But there's a whole collection of Nipper dogs there. So the Johnson Victrola Museum, this place is awesome. Like, build a day around driving down there, going to the Johnson Victrola Museum, and then if you go, I think if it's on a Wednesday, here, where is it? Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, Spence's Bazaar. Now, Spence's is kind of this crazy old school place where you can like buy Amish food, or you can set up and sell your stuff from your house outside, or they have flea market vendors inside. They also have auctions. It's this nutty place. Definitely worth a stop. I love going there and getting the Amish food, like getting a hot dog wrapped in pretzel, or actually they have really good chicken and dumplings there too. Not open right now, but I would, if it were me and I wanted to drive down to Delaware, I would drive down. Oh yeah, they have a guy who sells records too. You might be able to find some finds. I don't know. I think they have a gift shop, Donna. I am not sure what they sell there and what they don't. But yes, I think Graham, you're right, Jeff. Graham should know about this. I think he does, but if he doesn't, I'm always happy to tell people something twice. So that's all of Kent County. Now we're going to get into Sussex County. So Sussex County is down the beach, as I like to say, for Massachusetts. And Sussex County is where Retro Road husband Cliff Hillis grew up, down in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. And as I often say, like the fact that he, and I think I said it earlier, the fact that when I met him in California, not in Delaware, and when I met him and he said he lived at the beach, it didn't hurt for me. Oh, now he's watching too. So, you know, the fact that he lived at the beach, and it was such a nice beach too, didn't hurt. And now we're coming up on being married almost 18 years, so something right must have happened. So there are a few places. So the cool thing is about Sussex County. Let me see if I can show you this. So Sussex County goes from being like right out here. This is the beach, right? So you've got like Lewis, Delaware, and you've got Rehoboth Beach, and then you've got Dewey Beach, and then Fenwick Island. So you've got the whole beach area there. But then as you go inland, it goes kind of towards farmland. So you get great like corn and farm stuff and things like that. So it's like kind of a couple of different vibes down there. A lot of the things I have are circled around the beach. So they're all fairly easy to get to. The Clayton Theater, one of the first places I wrote about in Delaware back in the day, is one of the only, I think, single screen movie houses in the entirety of the state, and run by this dear couple that keeps the neon glowing. If you look on their Facebook page, and I think you should go to that and like it, because they are currently closed because of COVID. But the great thing is they put on a picture on their marquee. It said, closed, ran out of toilet paper. So the fact that they are keeping a sense of humor about this, and that so many people are expressing their love of the place, is just heartening to me. Dolly's. So Dolly's is kind of an icon. Anytime you see a picture of Rehoboth Beach and Rehoboth Avenue, Dolly's sign, this is usually bright orange, but I did black and white on the inside, but is classic. I'm going to see if I can show you this too, because here, let me switch it up. I have, some of you know, I have a small collection of these, what do you call them? Postcard folder souvenir type things. Oh, check it out. So, and these are called linen. This is a linen one. These are older than the chromes, but we can also talk about old school postcards at some other time. But if you look on the map, let me see if I can do this. Where's my hand? Right around here is where Dolly's is, and I bet it used to be there because it's been there for decades. The sign looks different. And there was another one that had, I've got a few of these. But Dolly's is an iconic place to go. Oh, you know what I can show you here? This is totally, what are we going to say? Spontaneous. Check me out. So, you can also get, Dolly's, you can get like popcorn and stuff. You can also get saltwater taffy, and you can get it in a little bucket like this. Isn't this cute? I love it. I don't even like taffy, but I wanted the bucket. And check this out. This is me. So the reason I have my bucket out is because there's been some little girls riding their bikes around the neighborhood, and we have a big sidewalk outside. So I said, hey, if I put out some chalk, will you guys want to draw? So I put out some chalk to entertain the kids in my little Dolly's thing. But so when you go down to Delaware, you go to Rehoboth Beach, got to get some Dolly's candy. What else do we have here? Moving right along. Oh, well, we might save that one for later. Gidgets Gadgets. Steve Fallon, you are awesome. Rock and roll people, you would love Gidgets Gadgets, as well as people who love kitsch, because Steve Fallon actually owned Maxwell's in Hoboken at one point. So if you want any rock and roll stories, he's our guy to go to. We also did, the very first retro roadmap video that we ever did, like the first one way back in the day with my friend Timo and his cool vintage bikes. We actually go and visit Gidgets Gadgets. So go to the YouTube channel, the Retro Roadmap YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Just hit the subscribe. I'd wicked appreciate it. But then you can see us going into Gidgets Gadgets. The other place that we did a video, it's kind of funny. Our very first video was at Gidgets because we lived down in Delaware. And then crazily enough, I think it was our last, maybe our last one, second to last one, was at Doyle's Diner. Now, as you can see right here, Doyle's may not look like much with this kind of peaked roof here, and it's on, is it 113 or 13? 113 in Selbyville. But you go in, and it's like stepping back in time, Jay. I'm telling you, going into this cool, I'm thinking it's a Silk City diner because of the diamond-shaped pattern right here. And I probably am right. Yep, speaking of oh, and you can see if there's a diner tag in there. But this is a wonderful, one of the only vintage diners in all of Delaware. We did a video here, which was wicked fun. They're known for their chicken, their fried chicken. And thank you, Christopher Holt, for saying Mod Betty rocks. I'm trying to help out everybody, including myself, out of these crazy doldrums. And if I know how to do retro roadmap, so I might as well share what I love. We talked about Gidgets Gadgets. Oh, speaking of G's, Gus and Gus. Gus and Gus is right on the boardwalk at Rehoboth Beach. Gus is still around. He's been around for, like, he's very old at this point, but has been, this place has been open since 1956. Still family owned and operated. Great place for breakfast. Like, you can go inside and order, or you can order from the window. Totally greasy and delicious. Millsboro Bazaar is closed. Milton, Delaware, Milton Theater, I mentioned that earlier. We've had a few fun things go on here. We did a retro roadmap video of this old, in this old theater. This theater that had been caught in, I think it was the 1962 flood. Yeah, so there was a flood in Delaware in 1962, and many places got flooded out. This place had been closed since then. It got reopened, and we did a retro roadmap video here. We did a fun retro roadmap night where we showed Beach Blanket Bingo. No, Bye Bye Birdie. And actually, Retro Road Husband has played here some music with his local music friends. I think Saul Knopf, Ed Shockley, and Keith Mack. And they're going to play there in August. So that's a great little place. So just as a heads up, everybody, we are coming close to the end of the Retro Roadmap Book of Delaware because, as I said, small state and not a lot of Retro Roadmap worthy places. But we have some more time, so if you have any questions for Mod Betty, we can do a little Q&A session after this. Just pop them into the comments, and that's how we'll roll. What else do we have left here? Oh, the Royal Treat. Royal Treat, again in Rehoboth. I'm partial to Rehoboth because that's where we live, but also because they have some of the cool old places. And this is a neat place because it goes from being a breakfast place where you can eat out on the porch, and then they close, and then they reopen as just an ice cream place. So adorable. So adorable. And so kind of just that old school sitting out on a screen porch eating your breakfast. Craig Nye, I'm pretty sure you went here. Am I right? The Seaside Country Store. Now, this is the one that is in the most southern part of Delaware, almost. This is in Fenwick Island, almost in Maryland, right near Ocean City. And the Seaside Country Store is a throwback old place where you can go and find all sorts of fun, kitschy gifts, some really delicious snacks. They make these great cheese spreads. Such a good place. And you cannot miss it from the road because they've got this giant red barn-like building. Again, family owned and operated since Faves. And the last place I think we've got right here is Walls Apartments. Again, so excited the fact that Walls, which is a place where you can rent cottages and old-timey cottages and like motel rooms in downtown Rehoboth. It's got this really old vibe to it. And if you've seen how much Rehoboth Beach has changed with all sorts of new fancy places coming up, it makes you appreciate it makes you appreciate these cool old places even more. So those are the places in Delaware from the Retro Roadmap. I suggest you visit them all once we're freed up. And on Thursday, just as a heads up for the content for Thursday, we're still going to go south and we're going to go to Maryland. After that, I'm not sure if we're going to go to Virginia or maybe Ohio, not sure where, but Thursday at least I know is going to be Maryland. So for the Q&A portion of the show, so Peter and Candy ask, please tell us about that girl with the trumpet behind you. I almost fall off my chair. So that is Auntie Mame. If any of you are familiar, I've got the book around here somewhere. So Auntie Mame is based on a book by Patrick Dennis called, I think it's called Auntie Mame. No, I'm totally spacing. I got it around here somewhere. Anyway, it was a book, and then it became a movie, and then it became a musical, like a Broadway musical, and then it became a movie based on the musical. And the reason I have this giant Auntie Mame right here is because I'm going to humble brag on my mom. So my mother made this Auntie Mame in 1971. She was involved in the community theater in the town I grew up in, Needham, Mass. And she was responsible for creating the sets and also in the posters and all the kind of marketing stuff for the shows. They were doing Auntie Mame, and she was actually pregnant with my sister Pam, so she wasn't able to be in the show, but she was still working on it. And they made this like giant Auntie Mame. So this is the top third of her. Her midriff and her skirt are still in the garage in my parents' house, though I've said feel free to like throw them away because I'm not. She could barely fit in our house. Never mind her torso and midriff. But she stood 12 feet tall outside of the Roach Brothers grocery store in Needham, Mass. in 1971, telling people to go to Auntie Mame. And I have loved this. So this has been in our house ever since. Not in our house, usually in the garage or the basement. And when I moved away, and I realized that I had no children, and yet I loved helping everybody, and I loved having kind of an interesting lifestyle, I really became enamored with the concept of Auntie Mame. And since she was part of my family history too, like this is literally like a family heirloom, that I decided Auntie Beth needed to have Auntie Mame in her house. Now, really quick, and then we can go on to some other things, or we can sign off early. The funny thing is it took me literally like years because she's so big. She's made out of like old school, really thick plywood. I think it's like 4x8 or 4x6. She didn't fit in any car we owned. Even when we owned a fairly big car, we didn't fit in. We had to convince friends that have a truck to come visit us. And oh, by the way, when you're coming down, could you go to my parents' house and pick this up? So anyhow, that's Auntie Mame. Above that is Phyllis Diller, another one of my faves. But yeah, so, all right. The DuPont Mansions, Michael G. I haven't visited those. We've driven past. I think you can go visit them. Oh, actually, here's a neat place. It's not on the stores, but there's, in the book, rather, but we saw some really interesting things at, the Hagley Museum. The Hagley Museum of Industry is really cool there. But anyhow, yeah, small state, short show, but just wanted to make sure I checked in. Hoping everybody is doing okay. I'm doing all right. the sun is out. I'm trying to find beauty in the small things. So I'm putting out chalk for the kids, the neighborhood kids, you know, going out for walks every day. That's right, the Winterthur Museum. You are so right. Thank you. Winterthur had a great thing about, oh, what's that show I got stuck watching that I loved so much? Downton Abbey. They had a whole new Downton Abbey thing. That was great. Oh, and actually I was signing off, but since there's a question coming in, so the name Maud Betty. So here's the deal. My real name is Elizabeth, and I've been known as Beth for like my life. And Celie, I'm so glad you chimed in. It was so nice to see you. When people used to want to kind of, you know, poke fun at me, they would call me Betty, because at the time Betty was not a fun, you know, it was a very square name. And somebody I worked with years ago was like, oh, Betty this, Betty that. And I have a wonderful friend, Patrick Lally, who I will never forget, said, oh, don't worry, you're not just a Betty, you're like a Maud Betty. And Maud meaning kind of like modern, like thoroughly modern Millie, or mods and rockers, like Quadrophenia. And all of a sudden I was like, hey, you're right. So instead of feeling like, you know, somebody was calling me a name and making fun of me, I kind of took it back and I was like, oh yeah, I'm a Maud Betty. And that's how that came up. Related to Delaware, I actually had a space where I used to sell mid-century modern furniture and furnishings in Newark, Delaware for a couple of years, called Maud Betty. And that's how I kind of developed kind of the brand. And then frankly, I was a bit shy when I started writing online, so I thought it was a perfect kind of nom de plume or nom de web, because I was embarrassed because I hadn't written before to put my real name out there. Now, I'm at an age, I don't care who calls me what, it just doesn't have to call me Johnson. So that's how Maud Betty came about. And yeah, so this is going to be Maud Betty signing off until Thursday of this week, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard or Daylight Time, where we will talk about the cool vintage places in Maryland. Again, I want to thank you all for showing up. I hope this has distracted you from the reality of our existences for a few moments, as it has helped me. And please do, as I said, if you want to help me, please just show up again, have some fun, do some good stuff in the world. Go over to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe, so maybe I can do a Facebook Live on YouTube, which I guess would be a YouTube Live. But just hang in there, guys, and I will see you on Thursday. All right?